lovely to have you both in the studio, right? And it's such a great question to ask because we're at the stage in the Premier League now where Arsenal got 4 games left and so have Liverpool. Man City have got 6. So one of those sides is going to win the Premier League. Okay, you've both been there. You know exactly what it takes. Emmanuel, I'll start with you. Can you put your finger on what it takes to win the Premier League? You've been in a side, Arsenal, of course, that won the Premier League, and you would have been in a double. And you would have been in a side that hasn't won it. So is it possible? I'll ask you the same question as well, Mark. And say, is it possible to actually put your finger on what it takes to win the Premier League? Can you look at these 3 sides and think, they've got it?
It's very difficult to explain why you win the Premier League, but obviously, when you are in a title race like this, and we've done it with Manchester United back in days, and I remember that I think mentally, this is the most important things, physically as well, but I think the squad, if you compare squad, I think Arsenal are still missing a couple of players for me in terms of rotation, but I think it's mental and physical. In this case, you know that every single game, every single point is more important than ever. And you know that every single mistake, when you miss concentration on the pitch, then you can lose the game. So it's on details, but for me, it's mental. If you keep believe, and if you keep have the confidence of you in the team that you're gonna win the title, this is for me. If you are convinced about that, I think for me this is very important. You have to believe in it. If you're not confident 100%, if you're listening to criticism or the frustration or the pressure from people or even in your club, then you're gonna lose the title. You have to be convinced. Everybody in the club must be convinced they're gonna win the title. I remember when Leicester won the Premier League, every single game people were saying on television, in the press, they're going to lose the game, they're going to lose the game, they're going to lose. They didn't, because they were believing that they could achieve what everybody didn't believe in it. And for me, this is the most important: confidence, mental. That's it.
Shark, when you won it with Leicester, and Manuel spoke really well about it, your squad, injuries, you've rarely had any, did you? All your big hitters pretty much went all season without injuries. Do you think that will play a massive part in this running? Because you look at Arsenal's, as Emmanuel said there, they pretty much have to be perfect, because if they lose 1 or 2 players, that could derail them, whereas Manchester City have got a huge squad. Can you kind of make comparisons in terms of when you won it and what's going to happen in this title race?
Yeah, I think obviously, like you say, when we won it, we were lucky that we could field more or less the same 11 for the whole season. We had 2 or 3 subs that were always the subs every single week at exactly the same times, and that just worked well for us. Obviously, we weren't in Europe, so we didn't have other games to contend with as well. But I think towards the end, I think Vards got sent off and was suspended, and then all of a sudden the questions come: oh, right, are they a one-man team? Who's going to get the goals? And people thought that was going to throw us off. But I think with this season's title race, I do think it will play a part. Obviously, City, they're both out of the Champions League now as well, so there's not that many games. So maybe that might help Arsenal's cause. But for me, I think City are probably too strong anyway. I can never look past Man City.
Emmanuel, do you think experience plays a huge part? And the reason I ask that is, of course, Man City going for 4 on the bounce, and Arsenal haven't won the Premier League for nearly a quarter of a century. So I'm just...
You're right. Yeah. Experience is very important. But he had to start somewhere, for Arsenal. And I think City knows perfectly what it means, to be in a title race, because they've been like this, they know how to deal emotions all the time. And with Pep Guardiola, I have it's the guarantee about that. And when you look at the players as well in City, they have so much experience, but as well in terms of character and personality, they are not fed up. They still want to win every single games. I've been at the Etihad during the game between City and Arsenal, and I've seen fights between Pep Guardiola and some players of City, and I thought to myself, this this is typical of a winning mentality, because they are not happy on what's going on the pitch, and they still want to win the game. So their experience is very important. But I think I used to be like you at the beginning of the season. I think City was ahead of Arsenal, but I think it might change this season. Obviously, they don't have their destiny in their hand, because City have 2 games in a row.
Mm-hmm.
They have 2 points lead. But I still believe that somewhere I don't see the best of City this season, especially in defense. I think they look more vulnerable, and this is why I think Arsenal, the way they reacted, scoring 5 goals against Chelsea, they know how important is the games coming on Sunday against Tottenham. But I'm very confident. I still believe Arsenal is going to win the Premier League.
How important do you think mentality is from the managers? Now, I think you both played under Ranieri. So Ranieri won the league, of course, with Leicester. When you look at Arteta and you look at Pep Guardiola, how important is their mentality going to be? Because, again, we've got a manager who's one of the best ever against the next up-and-coming. How much of a big part do you think that'll play?
Arteta, I think, is the builder of everything with his staff, I remember the first 2 years, it was very difficult for him when he first came to Arsenal. But step by step, in modern football, they don't give time to managers, on the bench to build something, to have a proper vision. But they did with Arsenal. They didn't have a choice after Arsene Wenger era, So they needed something, a proper vision to build something within the next few years. And step by step, with a very good management, very good vision, a very good relationship with his players, I think we all see what's going on with Arsenal now. They look very happy. And what pleased me the most when I look at Arsenal is the way they play as a team, a unity, You could see that they are very happy to play each other, It's a bench of friends, and they give every single minute on the pitch, they give everything. And I'm very happy about that, because they look tired recently. Some players look exhausted, but they never give up. And for me, this is how you win medals.
Mark, what was Ranieri like to play under that year that you won the Premier League?
Yeah, incredible. I think one thing that he did, which was probably the main factor in the end, was the year before, obviously we just stayed up. It was
under Pearson, right?
Under Pearson. It was a bit of a great escape, and obviously Ranieri came in that following season, and he could have come in. Obviously, he had the nickname the Tinker Man, and who knows what he could have changed. But I think it was a stroke of genius that he actually didn't change hardly anything at all. He kept it as it was. The club was sound. It was solid. The players that we had were good players. Obviously, nobody expected us to go on and win the league. But I think what he did, he just left everything as it was. Created a couple of we did 2 or 3 patterns of play, and we sort of nailed them down during the week. And then, other than that, he used to talk about a castle. He says, "Come back into the castle," and so defensively, it was just a block. It was a solid block, and just be hard to play through. So we always knew whenever we lost the ball was back in this castle. And then obviously when we won the ball back, it was we played a lot of long balls through to Vards and Riyad. So I think that's the one thing that I would say he didn't change too much, which was, I thought, very clever from him.
Did he give any powerful speeches? The game, or the day of the game, where if you won the game you'd be crowned Premier League champions, was there a big speech before the game?
Not so much a big speech. I don't think he needed to. The whole occasion was special. Like, we could have won it at Old Trafford on the I think it was on the Saturday. No, it was on the Sunday. Sorry, but then had to. Obviously, we got a draw, and he mentioned about being able to win the league at Old Trafford, which would have been incredible. But he weren't really one for massive speeches. He did little things during the season. Obviously, talk about the I heard it mentioned before, the dilly ding, dilly dong. That was his sort of famous saying, like wake up, basically. Did little things like he took us for pizza. He did all of these things, and he just kept the mood good. Like the mood was, the camp was just so happy. It was to go into training every day, just made it amazing. Like you wanted to get up, you wanted to go in and train, and that sounds a simple thing, but that's not always the case. No.
talkSPORT Drive, super opinionated sporting debate, Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.